Exciting. We have not formally met, so first time in person.
Yeah.
This is exciting.
Your mom's been hounding me.
Jeez, it's funny. I love my mom so much, and she's always like finding guests to come on the podcast.
Yeah.
And like sometimes in the past, she's been like, "Oh, I think you'll really like this person," and like, meet them. And then I end up meeting them. Like, I don't really like this person. The last two people that like she's sent me, you and one other guy. I'm like, we fucking hit it off right away. I'm like, this is great. Like, I love the people that she's been sending, and it's like it's really cool because I'm either like the center of attention of the party or I'm on the wall. There's no in between.
Yeah,
right?
I'm actually the same way.
Okay. And my mom is always this just beautiful social butterfly that just can interact with anybody and doesn't really have a care in the world about anything. So she's like the perfect person to just do that.
Yeah.
Like if she sees like a dad doing something awesome at the store with his kid, she'll just be like, my son runs a podcast. You should get on it. And then she'll be like, I met this amazing father. Like, it's like she vets everybody for me now. It's super cool.
That's what moms are for.
Yeah, it's awesome. But let's talk a little bit about who you are first. Let's just do a quick intro of who you are. And then I have some questions I do want to ask you because it's fascinating. So let's do that. So give me a little background of you.
So my name is Steve Lawson, and I met my wife in high school. She walked in. I looked up. I was like, damn. She'll be mine. I looked at my friend.
That was going to be my first question.
Yeah.
So we're going to get into that after this. That's awesome.
So, I mean, that's pretty much how it all started, and like life kind of kicked in. My whole original plan from when I was younger was to go special ops, black ops, wear all black like I do all the time. Anyway, carry expensive equipment and shoot people.
Yeah.
I'm a photographer, so I guess my goal came true.
Yeah. They just get to stay alive at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they get to look at the memories. Wow, these are amazing. But my wife walked in, and I was in 11th grade. She walked in. I was like, she'll be mine. Told my friend next to me, and she's like, sure thing. So my buddy at the front, she's like, we're arguing at who's going to go out with her first, but I won. We took her on a date together, and the other guy lost. I won. So fast forward, I wasn't a Christian at the time, and everyone said, stay away from Steve. He's trouble. She avoided me like the plague.
Yeah.
And then, fast forward some more, I got saved. I walked into school. She looked at me. We haven't talked much, and she goes, did you just get saved? And I was like, yeah, I just got saved. And so It was like this whole like life transformation. I was this big, burly guy, always in fights and this and the other. And
you're not small
no.
for anybody who's listening.
I'm not huge either. I'm normal.
You're definitely a bigger than average size human being.
Yeah.
It's the so this is my thing. It's like the planet theory. So the offensive line in football, there's only so many human beings that are like 6'4", 6'5", 200 to 300 pounds. Like you're in that category of like, there's only so many of them walking around the planet.
No, you're right. My kids are actually, unfortunately, getting big like me. And so they keep looking me in the eyes. I'm not happy about this at all. One of my kids is 15. He's almost there. I'm like, he's going to be taller than me for sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But anyways, going back to the story, I met my wife. We fell in love. We dated for 2 years. I was still in 11th grade. I graduated in 2000. I proposed Christmas of 2000. We got married in May of 2001. Got pregnant a couple months later. Our first child was born in 2002. Caleb, who's now married also, which is crazy to have a kid that's married.
Wow.
But and then the rest is history. We love big families. I'm an only child. I grew up playing on the streets. Playing hockey and football and basketball and every sport there was.
Awesome stuff.
All in the streets. And I didn't have any siblings, but my wife and I, she was one of 5. She had a great relationship with all of her siblings. So we always both wanted a big family. We didn't know how big of a family we wanted, but we knew we wanted a family. So we just kind of believed that we would just pray and say God would tell us when we're done. And so we do home births. So we had our first 2 were both C-sections. Our third and on were home births.
Okay.
Which was an amazing experience into itself. The relationship when the baby's born, it's like you get to hold the baby in your own house, and that's a whole other world.
Yeah.
But having, 7 kids, 6 boys, 1 girl, we love to travel. We converted a school bus. We literally live on the road a couple months a year, just travel, see the United States, and that's the best thing you can physically do with your kids. My mom, I get emotional talking about mom because she passed away a couple years, 7 years ago. 6 years ago, she passed away. And my whole entire life, she talked about one day we're going to get a bus, an RV, and travel. And on her deathbed, I said, do you have any regrets? Sorry.
It's going to make me cry.
So she said, the only regret I have, crap.
It's okay.
I'm supposed to get emotional.
No.
The only regret I have is that we didn't get an RV and travel, like my whole life. And there's a song by Jack Johnson called Washing Dishes. And in the song it says, one day are two words that get in the way of plans we should be making right now. And I was like, damn, that finally like clicked. And I was like, that makes sense. It's like everyone says one day, one day, one day. So she passed away. We said, let's get an RV. And let's travel. So we were looking at RVs, and for our size family, it's expensive. And I didn't want to convert.
$1 million RV.
Bro, tell me about it. I didn't want to have to convert bedrooms and, like dining rooms and living rooms into bedrooms while we're driving, because then it's like we take up our space. Like kids go to bed, mom and I are going to have our own time in the living room. Hang out, relax, talk, and just plan. So I wanted something where the kids have a bed, go to bed and it's like leave the living room alone. So we ended up, Joshua, my 15-year-old now, then he was a lot younger, said, why don't we get a school bus? And I'm like, bro, you're crazy. We're not getting a school bus. I don't even know how to begin to convert a school bus or where to even
buy one.
Like nothing.
Right.
And then 6 months later, we have a bus. And we bought a school bus down in Miami. We drove it around town. And I was like, this is so much fun. And we converted a school bus into an RV. And now we've literally gone to almost every state in the United States. I think we have like 4 states left that we've driven through, but we haven't stopped and made memories. Until we actually stop, stay the night, make memories, and we don't check it off the list.
Sure.
So in the continental United States, there are like 4 states left.
That's awesome. So when you go on, so you do homeschool, there's so much to cover. We're going to do more than one podcast.
Well, no, let me rephrase. My wife homeschools.
Okay.
She's the one who teaches them how to read, write, do all that stuff, spelling test, all that stuff. I teach them how to do real world, how to make money, how to communicate in the public, how to, I bring them on shoots. I teach them, young kids, how to actually interact with adults. The problem with the school system is that you learn how to interact with the same 30 kids or however big classes are nowadays.
Yeah.
The same group of kids that you grew up with, but you don't learn how to interact with actual adults, children, seniors.
Sure.
My kids learn how to interact with all age groups. So they treat everyone the exact same. And to me, that's so important because it's communication. Look people in the eye, shake their hand, stand up when a man walks in the room, you shake your hand. You don't sit, shake their hand. You stand up and shake their hand.
Yeah. Well, I just talked about this yesterday, how boys aren't taught anymore to walk on the side of the street of traffic.
No, I see.
The woman, it's crazy the things that are being missed, just the little nuances, but and I mentioned it before, and again, there's patterns that come up in my podcast, but trustworthiness is the number one thing for women that they look for in a man. Yeah. Number one, whether the relationship will last or not, which then is extrapolated into your daughter too, right? Yeah. And that's how you build it, with those unconscious cues of you're safe because I'm on the side of traffic. Yeah. And John Gottman writes about these things. It's amazing. And so I think it's invaluable that you're teaching, your children that. And maybe we'll reserve one of your children for Sloan. We'll have we'll have an arranged marriage. But
how old is your daughter?
She's 6.
6? I got a 5-year-old.
Yeah, see? Perfect. Yeah. Okay. So when you go on these trips, do you allow them part of the homeschooling to plan where they're going, how you're going to get there? Do you give, because I've always thought about that. I'm always like, okay, one day, right? So now I get to reframe that in my mind, which I'm glad we brought that story up. I have always thought how awesome it would be to be like, okay, Sloan, we're going to Montana this month. Yeah. The first 2 weeks you get to plan, and then Dad gets to plan the next 2 weeks. To teach her that's a pretty good life lesson. Because how many people go on vacation somewhere and they're like, well, they just sit in the hotel room and go to the beach because they don't know how to find things to do. Yeah. So do you implement any of that when you go, or do they have any say in where? So
our hashtag, our bus Instagram is Wild and Free Lawsons, which says a lot about who we are. We're very wild and free. We don't ever have a plan. We just kind of say, all right, we want to end up in this area. Yeah. And so I know this year I want to go to Montana. I want to go to Jackson Hole. I want to go see the Grand Tetons. I want to go to Zion, things like that, right? Which we've done a lot of those things already, but we want to go back because when we went before, Michelle, we just had Owen, who was now 5, but he was a newborn baby, so she couldn't go these hikes and stuff. I want to go back and do this with her. But we kind of just have a plan to get to a certain area. So, for example, last year, we wanted to go to Montana, Wyoming, do all these places that we want to do this year. We didn't do. We go to Lake Geneva in Wisconsin. We love Wisconsin, by the way. We go to Lake Geneva. We're hanging out by the lake, and this old couple comes out like, you think this is cute? You should go to Door County. There's a place called Sister Bay, Ephraim. It's all this little county where Green Bay's on one side, Lake Michigan's on this, a little peninsula that pops out. Super cute. So we go, we go, hashtag wild and free. We have no real plans. Let's just do it. We go thinking we'll spend 2 days. 9 days later, we leave. We didn't want to leave. So if you have a hardcore set in stone plan, which a lot of people do, and I appreciate that with people that are planners.
Sure.
And I like a plan, but when I'm on these trips, I also really appreciate the fact that we can be wild and free.
See, I think that this is what my favorite thing about doing this podcast is how much I get to learn, because right now I feel like my soul is craving so much more of that. And that's my daughter, what you just described.
Yeah.
She doesn't like to have a plan, and I like to have a plan. And I'm like, okay. And I see that now with my dad. He doesn't care about having a plan so much because he's retired. So he just goes with it. And I'm like, he's so much happier. And I'm like, okay, maybe I don't always need to get her to the next location or the next destination. Like, we can just stay here. And it's, man, I think that's so valuable that
There's pros and cons to everything, right?
Of course,
so
of course.
You're going to sometimes not have a plan and be like, damn, we picked the wrong place. This sucks.
Yeah.
Let's keep moving on.
Yeah.
Then you move on. You know, you get out of there. But you always will find things to do if you are willing to find things to do.
Yeah.
So
I love it. So again, I want to go back to some of the things you said. So Sloan was not born at home. The plan was to be born at a birthing center or do a home birth, but they had like the whole setup. And where we lived at the time, it just made more sense to go to like the home birthing center where they have like literal bedrooms and all this amazing stuff. And without getting into the whole story, we ended up having to go to the hospital, which is why we picked, the doula and everything that we did, because she understands everything so well, right? And she's like, we're not going to do the birth here. I don't think anything's going to happen, but we need to make sure. So we ended up having a birth at the hospital, which was, I heard being in chiropractic school, especially, you're already going against the grain. I heard all the horror stories about having births in the hospital, like all of the things.
yeah, I try to avoid those conversations.
Yeah.
Because I can get really deep into them.
For sure. But I will tell you, and I say this, I'll scream it from the rooftops, at that hospital we were in and the doctors that we had were the absolute best that we could have ever made manifest in the world. I mean, it was unbelievable. The one doctor that was in charge of, one of the 12-hour shifts every day gave birth to all of his children at home. His wife was a midwife. All of the things. They had our birthing plan there. They had it in the chart. Every doctor read it before they came in. I mean, they brought a mirror so she could watch. The one doctor was like, look, if you want to get on your hands and knees, you do what you got to do. I was like, if birthing in the hospital was more like this, I would have less of a problem with
of course,
it, because
Same.
it was so honoring her, right? While also having a nice safety net, because they weren't sure, because she kept bleeding. And so they weren't sure if, the placenta and everything tore away a little bit. And so we had that, we were in a safe place. It was amazing. But what made you switch then from, was the plan always to have home births and you ended up in the hospital for the first two? How did you, because a lot of people are making that switch now. They have that first baby in the hospital and then they're like, I don't know if that's how we were made to do this.
Yeah. So we were young. We were the first of all of our friends to get married, to have babies. So we didn't have any outside experience to go off of. And you just know, you grow up, you have a baby, you go to a hospital.
Yeah.
So that's all we knew. So we go to the hospital. We love her. She loved her OB, all this stuff, right? Yada, yada.
Yada, yada. Yes. Inside joke. Don't worry about it, guys.
For you. And then we go to the birth. By 5 o'clock, the baby's not coming fast enough. So they start pumping her with Pitocin.
Yeah.
Baby goes into stress. Mm-hmm. Heart rate's dropping. She's on her back, strapped down to a bed. And all of a sudden, the doctor walks in. The baby's in stress. We have to go immediate emergency C-section. So we go in. 5:36. The baby's born. Caleb, that's the one that's married, born literally 36 minutes later. So we said, "Oh my gosh, you saved the baby. You saved Michelle.
Sure.
All these things, right? Because the baby's in stress." Well, you start learning what caused the stress, and that's the problem. He got home for dinner, because his wife had dinner on the table. I'm assuming these things. He didn't tell me he had dinner on the table, but you start doing all this research and you start speculating of why things happen at certain times. The second birth, again, we didn't know anything. We just, the doctor's like, all right, so I'll be out of town here. Roughly you're due around this date. I'll be traveling here. So let's put that on the calendar for this date for the C-section. Awesome. We do that. We get on the calendar. Jacob's born. Easy birth, this and the other. And then one of our friends, they had a baby and they had a home birth. And we heard their birth story about how beautiful it was and how they were in their own bed and this and the other.
And they're all probably crying and happy. And just,
they got to hold the baby. Our children, C-sections, they take the baby away. You watch from a glass window for, hours.
Yep.
They feed the baby.
Yeah.
This and the other. It's just a weird scenario. So we're listening to this birth story and we're like, we want that.
Yeah.
And Michelle started talking to all these OBs, but we want to do a natural birth. And they basically laughed at her and said, there's no way you had 2 C-sections. You're having another C-section.
Yeah.
So we found a midwife that would do it, and we did it. And it was the best scenario ever. So from that point forward, it's just the connection with your children, being all, I don't know. We just really loved it.
I mean, all of that was our plan. One of my absolute best friends in the world, they did it at home. Excuse me. They had a blow up bathtub.
Yeah, we had one of those.
And all that stuff. And I mean, they loved it. And in the hospital, as soon as Sloan came out, like, they gave her right to Christy, like, right on the chest. Like, I mean, they really honored our beliefs there. And it was phenomenal that we had that experience, because I have friends that have had absolute horror stories, in the hospital. And she was meant to do it. She was designed to do it, and there's all of these beautiful things that happen. And like, how being a part of that, how much stronger that makes your relationship with your wife.
Of course. Yeah.
Because you got to prep for it and you got to do it. And, for anybody who's thinking about having a home birth, your midwife, doula, however you're going to go about that, interview a lot of them. Because we did, and we went based off a recommendation, and then we interviewed ours. And what I loved about her was she knew how many births to a T that she had helped with. She knew how many ended up in the hospital. She knew why they ended up in the hospital. Yeah. And she was like, you can ask any of the doctors in town. She goes, call them. I have an amazing reputation with them because I don't bring them emergencies. And that's how midwives get a bad reputation. Yeah. Something starts to go wrong and you need to go to the hospital, and you don't go. And then they have an emergency and the doctor's pissed. Yeah. She's like, they don't get pissed with me because perfect scenario, Christy and I, I mean, it was, and so I really felt like I trusted her a lot. And I think that, we paint with this broad brush now in society where it's like, if you don't agree 100% with everything I said, like, or you say something and I don't agree with 100% of it, like, you're dead to me. It's like, I love Jordan Peterson, one of my favorite people. I agree with about 90% of what he says. Yeah. I'm allowed to disagree with 10%. He probably loves that I disagree with 10% because it makes me think, And so I think it's important to for all the things we do in the world, to also acknowledge that, like, there is a need for all the aspects. But I have never seen the results, especially with the mom bonding with the daughter or son, in the postpartum depression decreasing as much as simply just having a home birth.
Yeah. And all the kids are gathered around and everybody gets to hold the baby right away.
And it's nature. Like, you're seeing what it is. Like, we used to live in a place that had a pond, and there were these ducklings that would be born every 3 or 4 months. And there was a blue heron that loved to eat them. Literally would nab them and dip them in the water like they were au jus sauce, so like funny. The water, and just gulp them down. Yeah. And, we had people that would complain in, like, the apartment complex about, like, what was happening. But I would take Sloan out when she was 3 years old and let her watch. I'm like, this is nature. Yeah. This is what happens, right? This is how they survive. Like, and it's not bad, because someday the blue heron's going to die, and guess what it's going to do? It's going to feed the soil, and then the ducks are going to eat off that. All of these things. Like, this is, and when you can normalize birthing, when you can normalize nature and all of the aspects that it has, children don't grow up with these whacked out beliefs that they have to fix everything.
Yeah.
And I think that's super important. So how, with again, one of my best friends was homeschooled, and she's one of the most well-adjusted people on the planet, right? There's none of the stuff that everybody, says about homeschooling. Yeah. How have you seen that go, and how, like, did they ever have interest in sports? How did that go with sports? Like, what did that look like? I mean, raising such an enormous amount of children, I mean, and being able to breathe. I don't know how you did that. We'll talk about that too. But
with the kids, my job, it's a blessing because everything kind of like falls into place perfectly. I own a photography company, so I shoot a lot of weddings. Weddings is on the weekends, and most families where your kids go to school, your wife works, and then you work on the weekends, that would totally suck. In my situation, since we homeschool, my office is in the back of my home. We have an addition in the back of our home where my office is like a 500 square foot office in the back. So I'm able to be around and present throughout the week. And then I have shoots, and I'll take them on photo shoots. So I take a couple of kids so they learn and get the bug. And then on the weekends, I'm gone. Now 3 of my kids work for us. Yeah. So I have 3 of them out on the field with me also. So I'm with them then too. But at the end of the day, with the managing the schedules, that is a lot of fun. My wife doesn't work. She's a stay-at-home mom. So I guess technically she does work 24/7.
Yeah, definitely works.
Yeah, works more than I do, for sure. But they're big time into hockey. So they do hockey nonstop. They literally would live on the ice if they could.
Yeah.
So yesterday, my wife's at the hockey, she's a hockey mom. So, but we have our, private coach that we go deal with, and we have, stick and puck, just open scrimmages at, the rink on the beach, and we'll have some fun there. And then we pop over to street hockey in front of our house, and we set up scrimmages. So, I mean, they're always playing.
Yeah.
We're also big gym rats. And so, 4 or 5 of my kids have gym membership. So they're always going to the gym. Matthew's 13 and up. They all basically work out. So I have a personal trainer for the 2 younger ones, my 13 and 15-year-old, so they know how to train properly for them.
Smart.
Because if they train with me, I'm going to push them, too hard.
Yep.
So I want them to train how to do, just get in shape, be ready, be good on the ice, things like that.
Yeah.
But they used to go to this thing called Saints, which is a homeschool. It's a Christian homeschool, physical ed class twice a week when they do archery, they do track and field, they do basketball, they do football, they do every sport. It's not competitive where you go up against other teams, but you go against yourselves. You learn how to be a team player, this and the other. So it still keeps them active. I'm all about making sure they sweat. We don't really have game consoles in our house, so there's no PlayStation. There's none of that stuff in my house.
I don't have any of that either, yeah.
Yeah, I'm big into I grew up playing on the streets. I was always smelly and stinky and running around outside and sweating. My kids smell worse than I did.
Yeah.
Because they're literally outside all day playing. They come inside, they do some homeschool, They're back outside in the pool, playing street hockey, we're going to the gym. So, I mean, they're active. And that's the thing about homeschoolers. Yeah, there are some weird homeschoolers out there. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I've met some weird kids.
Weird everything out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Pick whatever you want. There's someone weird.
You're going to find weird kids in public schools too.
Probably more.
Yeah. So if you are teaching your kids how to be, good learners, we teach them how to, life is learning. It's not about you have to memorize everything on this book. It's about learning. Life is learning. That's kind of what we say is that, so everything they do in life, they're learning something.
Yeah.
So yesterday I'm putting cash in the bank, and I'm counting it all out. I'm having my kids help me count and separate and learn how to count the money and fives over here, tens over here, 20s, hundreds. And they're spreading it out, learning how to count money. And I'm teaching them budgeting basically, and how to go through that and count how much money there is and this and the other. Just life is always learning.
You make a game out of it. Fun.
It makes it fun. Yeah.
You don't want to not learn then. You're oh, well, now I'm excited for the day. I want to go to the camp or I want to go do archery because it's not a chore. It's a fun thing to do. Yeah. And I think that definitely I would have thrived in an environment like that for sure, as opposed to sit down and memorize this.
Well, that was me. I had learning disabilities up the wazoo. So, I mean, they label me learning disability in 2nd grade. I rode the coattail of that my whole life. So I literally never had homework. I didn't have to ever do homework because of my learning disability, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And I literally rode that till graduation. I'm not even sure how I graduated.
Yeah.
But my mom always said, I don't care if you get, A's, B's, C's, whatever you get, just as long as you have a good attitude about it and you're not getting in trouble, as long as you're learning something, you're moving forward. It's not about getting A's. It's about taking a life lesson because everyone's personalities are different. My personality is extremely different than most. Mm-hmm. So for me, I don't learn by sitting and reading. I have to do.
Same, 100%.
I have to be active. I have to be doing something and actually learn. If you give me a book, I'm going to read the book. I'm going to skim through it. I'm not going to remember anything. My brain's going to be somewhere else. So hand me whatever it is I need to do. I'll figure it out.
Yeah. And then
watch a couple YouTube videos and I'm good. Yeah.
And then you have it forever.
Yeah. And my kids are like that. You have to learn which their learning styles are. So Caleb, when he was younger, you'd say get to page 2 or 3. He would do up to page 10. With Jacob, he's like me. Just get to question number 2. Just do answer number 1, number 2, and you're fine. We'll work on 3 and 4 together. But Caleb would go further. But it's just their different personalities. So you have to teach them differently. You have to learn what moves them and drives them. Not all one size shoe fits all.
Right.
Especially with children. You have to learn how to teach each kid differently. So and communicate with them differently and treat them differently.
That was going to be my next question. So I'm still learning because it's forever learning how to communicate with my daughter.
Yeah.
6 boys and 1 girl.
Yeah.
When how old's your daughter?
7.
7. Okay. So how much different is that for you in communication styles and how you get to raise her? Because one of my absolute best friends that I've known since kindergarten, we were talking, he just had a boy. Well, not just, but a year and a half ago had a boy. And so he has two girls, and there'll be at parties or whatever before he had the boy, and one of his friends had a boy that was there, and the boy came up and interrupted, and he put his head on his head and was like, yeah, give me a minute, and kind of pushed him away, and he was like, oh my God, if I did that to my daughter, she'd have just started bawling, you know, like they're so different, you know? So how, I guess, what have you noticed the biggest difference between being able to raise them is?
So with Charlotte, with the boys, they're all very loving. They all love affection. You know, they love being told, you know, you're awesome, the hugs and kisses. And, you know, we show affection to them big time.
Which I think is so, for anybody listening, that's one of the most important things I think you need to do as a father now is show your boys affection too.
Yeah.
Because like at the beginning of this episode, like you're a big burly man who's also not afraid to cry when he thinks about his mom, right? Like you could see the tears. Like that's how we become fully integrated. Like, it doesn't mean you're more feminine. Like, we need to stop with all that.
Yeah.
You're just fully integrated in all of your emotions, and you're allowed to have them.
Yeah.
So teaching our children that prevents them from building up and then doing dumb shit like shooting schools because they don't know how to manage their emotions.
Yeah.
You know? So anyways, I digress. Sorry for interrupting.
No, yeah, you're totally good. We're on the same page here.
Yeah.
But where were we talking about?
So we were talking about
That's
the difference
ADD
between like, that's fine. I got the same thing. So the boys and how much different it is raising them as opposed to her.
So I do treat Charlotte pretty much the same.
Yep.
I treat everyone the same.
Okay.
Whether I've just met you at Starbucks or I've known you my whole life, I treat everyone the same. So
great principle to live by.
The one thing with Charlotte though is that she definitely is more emotional, especially being younger. I don't remember it as much as Michelle does. Michelle remembers her being one of the most challenging because she would be more emotional with certain things. So you try to break that emotion because you don't want to have a child grow up and be this girl that cries to get her way.
Yes.
You still want to teach her
of course
how to be tough, you know, but she's as girly as they come. So she's always in beautiful dresses and she's like, Daddy, look at my dress.
Yeah.
And she likes to show it off. I can't wait to her wedding day. I'm going to freak out when she's in her wedding dress. It's not going to be cool. But she does like a first look with me. Every time she gets a pretty dress on, she shows it off. And she's very, I don't say clingy, but she loves affection. She loves to hold my hand. She loves to sit on my lap. She loves to cuddle with me on the couch.
Yep.
She loves to just hug my leg as I'm standing there. Like she just loves that dad strong affection, right?
Yep.
And sometimes I'm like, I don't want to be touched right now. Like I need space. It's hot. I'm sweating. I sweat a lot. So if I'm outdoors and I just got done working out or whatever it is, I'm just like, I'm hot. Don't come near me right now.
Yeah.
Just leave me alone. And I have to remember, I don't want to steer her away from affection because if you look at feminism and masculinity today's day and age, women are being taught, unfortunately, independence. You don't need men. You don't need this. It's like, that's a whole nother topic, by the way.
We can get into it another time. I don't know if we'll have time today, but we can, I have a feeling we think the exact same way. So
I'm big into teaching kids to be masculine. I'm teaching girls to be feminine.
Yes.
But I also don't want her to be a pushover.
Yes.
So I want her to be a tough, feminine.
Yeah.
Hold your boundaries. I'm not talking about feminism today. I'm talking about true,
yes,
girly,
the nurturer that literally create. I mean, I've talked about it before, but the podcast is the logo is the way it is because it's me and Sloan, and I believe that the masculine is the strong, stable structure that the feminine gets to dance and create upon.
Yeah, it's a good logo.
Because that's how it works. Like you. I mean, if we even break it down into conception. The seed enters the woman and then she creates for 9 months, not you. You may put a massive role in it. Now they're even linking research to where it's not the fastest swimmer. The egg chooses which one gets in, right? So then she creates. Well, she has the ability to then do that the rest of your lives. Like you just described it with your wife and the homeschooling. Like she's constantly taking everything and giving it beauty behind the scenes, but that only happens if she's strong. Right. Yeah. And she has a stable structure to dance upon, which is the masculine. Yeah. Anyways, I digress.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I'm totally there. But I definitely think, I teach her to be feminine, to be a girl, and get in dresses. But at the same time, she'll pick up a Nerf sword and sword fight and a Nerf gun war and she'll drop kick you and she'll literally elbow you to your chest. So she loves to still be strong. You don't want to mess with her. Like if I'm messing with her, tickling her, she'll like hold her fist up like you want to fight.
Yeah.
She says, "You want a knuckle sandwich?" She might have got that from me.
Yeah, I love it.
But she gets tough, but she's still girly. She still likes to cuddle and sit next to me on the couch. And I have to remember, it's like I look at today's day and age, and the women that are out there today. Unfortunately, a lot of women are being taught, independence, and they don't need a man. So to me, that goes hand in hand. You have to have that masculine and feminine.
It was created for each other.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So I don't want to take that away from her. I want to make sure she has that loving feeling from her dad. So when she grows up and she finds a man, I want her man to be someone she's looking for, to be someone who's a protector, that's going to love her, that's going to cuddle with her and hold her hand and make her feel special.
Yep.
So I don't want to, yes, I'm hot and sweaty, but come hold my hand.
Yes, same. You literally described our relationship to a T. You know, the first time I took her when we got her bow to go shoot, she wore her camo dress and her sparkly heel shoes, right? But she's shooting her bow, and she's like, I look fucking good, and I'm a badass, you know? She punches and kicks, and we wrestle and fight, and she's like, let's wrestle more. Like, I mean, but then, 15 minutes later, she's like, Dad, now it's time to cuddle, right? And I think it's important, too, to not reject her in those moments. And again, this is where it comes back to, like, you controlling your emotions around her is showing her that, like, it's okay to be vulnerable in front of the masculine, which I think is a lot of the problem with women now, is they don't feel like they can be vulnerable in front of men because men aren't showing up as men anymore, and so when you do that and you clearly show up as a man, I mean, you run a business, you have very well-adjusted children, and so you then set the bar, one, that your boys can show up as men for their wives, and two, that she will then demand a man to show up for her. Yeah. By like you, anytime I'm with Sloan, I'm always walking. I know that I'm harping on this right now, but I've seen it so much in like the last 2 weeks, of course, because now I'm focused on it, but walking on the side of traffic. Like if we're in a parking lot, baby girl, you need to be on this side, and like all these things, but I'm teaching her that now she expects that. So if she goes on a date with a guy and they're walking down the street and he's not, he doesn't even know how he fucked up, but it's like, bro, you didn't walk on the right side of me.
I know. And I'm the same way. I teach my kids. I'll watch my boys walk and they'll push mom on the side by the grass. And it's like, you're 10 years old making mom walk over here. It's like, she's still the protector, but he's still the one that says, no, I'm going to protect mom. That's
how we were raised.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember we were in Mexico and we went to like one of those little like dinky shops, like whatever, we were on vacation and my mom was looking at stuff and my dad was outside doing something, probably drinking tequila. And he tried to get her to buy something. She said she didn't want it. And then he tried again. She said she didn't want it. And he tried again. And I stepped between them. I was like, motherfucker, she said she didn't want it. And I was like 15. And she like grabbed me and pulled me out of the store and took me over. She's like, you can't go to jail in Mexico, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, but this is how I was raised. Like he was disrespecting you and encroaching on your boundaries, And it's like, again, I don't think you should fight, but you should be able to feel secure enough to be like, no, this is not acceptable how you're behaving now, and respect women for what they are. And I don't fault women for, I don't want to say being the way they are now, but I think when we as men take on the responsibility of like, well, we've failed to be men, of course they're going to act more feminine.
Of course, yeah.
You're more masculine.
More masculine. They're going to take the role.
Of course they're going to take the role. Like, it's your fault. And men don't want to hear that today, but it is, and I think that's what hopefully this podcast will start to help change is like, look, you're a father, you own a business, and you're present with your wife. Like that takes a lot. And 7 kids. I mean, one's hard. I don't. So
one is actually the hardest.
Really? See, that's the thing.
Just told me. One is the hardest because why? You're the only thing they have. They want all of your attention.
All the time.
All the time.
Yes.
My kids, my 7 and 5-year-old, bro, they are like white rice and black beans. They're always together.
Yeah.
They wake up, they wake each other up, they go out and play. Like today, they woke up, they literally went on a golf cart ride with mom for an hour, drove around town. They were looking through it was bulk pickup. So they found all kinds of like soccer balls. People throw the craziest stuff away.
Yeah.
They found soccer balls. They're coming home with like, what is this stuff they're bringing home? But anyways, they go for a thing. Michelle's running. The kids are driving the golf cart. She hops back on. They drive some more. They're just having fun doing some exercise. They come back. They go right to the pool. They jump in the pool. They go play on the playground. It's just like they're always together. They have each other. So it's not mom, 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 dad, dad, dad. They have each other.
Yeah.
And then they have their moments where they need us too. But, all my kids, like my Matthew, Liam, and Joshua, they're like the crew that hangs. Joshua can go back and forth and kind of hang between like Jacob and myself and Caleb. But it's like they all have like people to hang with within our family.
Right.
So it really makes it easier for us because Michelle and I, we were in Italy shooting a wedding for 10 days. We left the kids at home. My 18-year-old stayed with them all, watching all the kids.
I love that.
We don't have to worry. We don't have to think about it. We know that they're responsible. We've taught them how to be responsible. there's also, firearms, there's protection in our house.
Sure.
We're big 2A believers. So all my kids have shot. They all know how to do it.
That's what I'm teaching her next is the BB gun. That's the next on the list. She's helped me clean all my guns and everything.
Yeah. I've taught all my kids gun safety first. I'm big in believing in safety.
Absolutely.
So I teach them safety from the moment they can comprehend English.
Yep.
And then, as I'm cleaning guns or, loading mags, where I'll show them how to hold it, what not to touch, teach them everything, the universal safety laws. I'm big into teaching them all those things. Just because you go to your kid's house, curiosity killed the cat, right?
Yep.
Take the curiosity out. And then someone said, hey, my dad's gun's here. They already know gun safety.
Yep.
And then you're not going to have an accident. Nothing's going to happen. That's the whole goal.
What I'll leave my pistol out. Of course, it'll be completely unloaded. The magazine won't even be in it. But I'll test her and I'll leave it on the living room table.
I've done it before.
And then I'll go get her and what does she do? Don't touch it and get an adult is the first thing. That's number one. Don't touch it, go get an adult. And I see how long it takes her and I see when she notices it and how long. And she comes right to me and says, Dad, you left your gun out. Okay, cool. You're understanding what it is. And from a young age, like you said, take the curiosity away. I would hold it with her. I would show her the parts of it. You never point this in this direction. These are what they're, this is what they do. And one of her favorite TV shows to watch with me is Meat Eater. Mm-hmm. So she loves watching that TV show. So we'll watch that. And, I just think, again, it's just invaluable lessons. I'm a huge 2A guy and I'm not going to raise my daughter the other way. It's why we're able to be the way we are right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's cool. It's cool to see that there's other dads out there doing the same thing. Cause I think that this is how we were supposed to raise children. And I think it was lost. And then, this is the whole goal of the podcast is to bring people on that are doing the same thing so that other dads know that they're not completely lost out there.
Yeah.
And, all right, we got time for it. So tell me, I guess, some of the things either that you had to give up when you had children or some of the adversities that you and your wife had to go through. I want to talk about some of the hard, because we've talked about all the good stuff, right?
Yeah, of course.
So let's talk about some of the harder things that stand out in recent memory of it's not always sunshine and rainbows. And sometimes dad doesn't sleep for 2 or 3 days.
Yeah. I'd say for me, it's all about providing a good life, memories, providing financial stability. Owning a business, you have your ups and downs, especially in the wedding industry. In the summer, it slows down.
Yeah.
So I plan my trips years in advance. So I'll go my calendar 2-3 years in advance and I take off all the time I want. So I take off roughly around 4 months out of the year. Not all 4 months in a row, but I'll take off throughout the year 4 months. So I usually take off August, September. This year, so every other year we've traveled in the bus. So one of the biggest challenges for having a big family is it's very expensive to go do things.
Yeah.
So just going out to dinner, a nice restaurant.
$200 dinner, yeah.
$200, yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
We can eat cheap at Chipotle. Chipotle is awesome. We go there, spend $50. We're good. But you go to other restaurants, nice restaurants, whatever we like to go out to.
Yeah.
It's $300 and up. I mean, my kids, I have 2 kids that eat kids meals. Everybody else eats adult meals.
And then the boys are going to hit puberty and it's game on.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they all have because they eat as if they have. my Matthew, who's my youngest, that's not, well, I guess that's not true. We have a 10-year-old, 13, and then up. Matthew's our 13-year-old. He eats as much as I do, but he also plays hard. He plays hockey. He just started working out in the gym. So he's
burning it.
Yeah, he's burning it out. But that's probably the biggest challenge for me is those hard decisions. So we had a trip planned for years to go to London and Scotland, and we were going to do a road trip through London and Scotland. And as disappointed as I am, we weren't able to save up enough money, doing the numbers and stuff. And it's just stressing me out. I'm losing sleep. I'm not happy right now that we're going to probably just do a road trip around the United States this year instead. But man, I feel bad. It's I feel like I almost failed.
Right.
I wasn't able to save enough money or whatever it was, but it's expensive when you have a lot of kids. So, but at the end of the day, making memories, we're going to a cabin next week. I still don't want to take those memories away. I still want to have, my saying that I say to myself to calm me down is, I'd rather have 1 million memories than $1 million in the bank. So it's those memories will be there forever.
Yeah.
And it's we live a good life. We have a nice house. We live in a good area. We don't want for pretty much anything. Anything we need or want, we can function, we can do. Sure. We make enough money to do. But man, I'm super disappointed that we're not going to be able to do this trip this year, you know, and it's like, I had to tell all my kids and they're all super disappointed. We've been looking forward to this for a few years. So that's one of the biggest challenges is for me, I stress out about money a lot.
Yep.
So when that summer months come, June, July, August, September, I'm always like, oh, so I save up for it. I plan for it, but I also worry about my team, you know, and I always tell them, make sure you plan for the summer months.
Yeah.
Because it gets slow. It gets hard. So you have to make sure you have savings.
Down here.
Especially down here. Too hot. People don't want, you know, it's hurricane season. It's hot. It's going to be humid. So people don't want to get married right now. You know, you do have a few weddings that are coming in from out of town or whatever it is, or these are just cheaper months to get married. So they take advantage of that.
Yeah.
But I would say my biggest challenge of having a big family, we don't really have challenges in the fact that it's like, it prevents us from doing anything. A lot of people grow up in life going, you know, we're going to get married. I'm going to go to school, go to college. I never went to college. Go to school, go to college, get a good job, work hard, have a family, retire, save your money, retire, and then travel.
Yeah.
And then they have no worries. But you're also too old to do things.
Yeah.
You can't go hiking the same way.
7 years old, you can't go skiing anymore because you got a new knee. Like
exactly. No, I want to have all these memories today.
Yeah.
So my whole thing is work hard, but play harder. And so we don't really have the challenges per se that a lot of people face, like when you have a big family, like is there fighting, is there disagreements? Like everyone gets along.
Yeah.
They have little arguments about when they're playing hockey or the TV show, whatever it is. They get into little spiffs that are literally mean nothing.
Yeah.
There's no real fights. It's just little stupid stuff. But then for me, the biggest challenge is providing, you know, in the busy months, we don't worry about anything, you know, and you want it, we get it, you know, we have fun.
Yeah.
But when those times slow down, man, it really stresses the crap out of me out.
I think that's every father. I mean,
because you want to provide.
You want to provide.
You know, I don't want Michelle to have to get a job. I don't want to have to get a second job because I know this is temporary. It's like we saved up. We have enough money saved to be able to go travel. But if I don't want to go into debt. We have zero debt.
Yeah.
So I don't want to have to then go into debt to be able to go on this trip.
Sure.
I would rather just save the money and pay for it.
You know what I mean? You're teaching them lifelong principles, even if
you
know, even if you wanted to go, you know, I mean, you're still teaching them lifelong principles, but I think that's, you know, I mean, that definitely hits the nail on the head for me too. It's the financial thing all the time. You know,
I think as dads, I think that's a lot of financial. And if it's not, then I think you have some issues. But
yeah, because I think deep down, you should desire to be the provider.
Of course.
That should be your main focus. And then, you know, that's where I'm in this new dance right now where again, I feel like I bring up the same themes on podcasts, but my dad just retired and he doesn't worry about anything anymore, right? He's got enough to live. He structures his life the best way, all these things. But I saw this beauty come out in him of this calm sereneness, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I want that. You know, also, I kind of wish that, not that he did anything wrong, but I kind of wish that version of dad raised me.
Yeah.
You know, which kind of reminds me why your trips of just going and being places really sound so, you know, wholesome to me and nice, because it's like, man, I kind of wish our trip could have been that way, you know, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, well, how do I get to give that to Sloan now? And then so it's this dance between like giving her that, being the provider, wanting to take care of myself, finding a partner that I want to spend time with. Like, I mean, juggling all of that and still being able to then keep a marriage together also.
Yeah.
Tricky.
And take care of yourself.
Yeah. Right. You know, and so I think that what I've come to the conclusion of is you just have to build yourself up so much that doesn't win.
Yeah.
You know, because there's no getting away from it. Right. You can go complete Zen mode and then what? You don't get anything done.
Yeah.
Right. Or you can go complete crazy mode and then what? Everything else falls apart, you know, or you go complete all of my own care. The imbalance is, I believe, a facade that was made up by the personal development industry to sell you, because it doesn't exist. It doesn't fucking exist. Nobody on the planet has balance. And if you have it, you're lying or you're retired. And
you might have balance for what? 5 days?
Right. Or at max a month, and then you don't, you know, and that's where I think, you know, a lot of people talk about like routines, and I think routines are so unbelievably important, but you have to have flexibility in the routine or it's not going to work, you know? And so, I think that's just the normal part of fatherhood and just being a man in general. Yeah. Maybe that's what we've lost in society is the masculine, is they don't want to be the providers anymore.
Well, that's 100%. And then, I mean, man, that's a whole nother topic. I don't know if we have time to go down that road.
Yeah, we got 16 minutes. You want to talk about it? Let's talk about it.
I look at the way people are being raised today, right? So where did they attack first? Masculinity.
Of course.
So they went after all the masculine men.
I got to get you one of my shirts. I just made shirts to say intoxicating masculinity.
Oh, there you go.
I got to send you one.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Okay.
I only wear black. This is black.
It's in black. Don't
Okay,
worry.
good.
Black and gray is almost all I wear. So
I don't own anything but black.
Okay.
But they went after masculinity first, right? Then they went after feminism and started taking feminine women and making them more masculine.
Sure.
And then what do you have? Then
feminism's a war on women.
Of course it is. Yeah. Especially today. That's a whole nother world where that's a whole nother topic.
I know. I keep going down all these angles.
But then then they go after the children because they went after masculinity. Now you're going after the children. So now you're going after the future. It's so sad what's happening. So it's like, for me, I'm so big into teaching my kids how to be a provider, how to be strong, how to be men. And I want Charlotte to grow up seeing what a real man is.
Yes.
And I don't claim to be the world's greatest man. You look up a definition of a perfect man, I'm not going to show up. I've had my faults, I've failed, but I think that what makes you a better person is you learn how to overcome those. You fall down, but are you going to get back up or are you going to stay down?
And then
I
you
have
show
fallen
that
down.
example.
Yeah, exactly. And you tell your kids like, hey, we screwed up. And I've gone through things. I would say past few years ago, 3 years ago, I probably hit my rock bottom. Then that's a whole other topic. We don't have to get into that now, but hit rock bottom and prayed God would take me. Like it was that bad.
Yeah.
And, opening up to my kids, telling them what's going on, everything, and seeing me hit rock bottom and then get back up and grow and get to where I am today, shows them a good example. You have to be, as a father, you have to be open. You have to be an open book, in my opinion, because you want your kids to not see this fake person. They need to see you fail, and they need to see you rebuild. They need to see you succeed. They need to see you struggle. They need to see you do everything. Yeah. Because if not, they're not going to know how to handle it when they get married.
And then they're going to put you on a pedestal of something unachievable.
Exactly. And you want your kids to always do better than you, make more money than you, be more successful than you, have a better life than you.
Yeah.
That's what my parents wished for me. That's what I wish for my kids.
Yeah.
They might be doing it a little too soon. I'm like, guys, slow down. You're making me look bad. But, my wife, quick side note, my wife was looking at some photos that we shot, and she goes, man, this wedding you did was amazing. I go, which wedding was it? And I looked at it and I was like, I didn't shoot that wedding. Caleb did. And she's like, maybe you should start taking some lessons from him. Like, babe, I taught him everything he knows. So I'm joking around about it, but at the same time, it's a proud dad moment. It's like,
fuck yeah.
You're doing amazing. Mom thought that was my work, but yet it was yours. And she wants me to take now lessons from you.
Yeah.
I need to go assist you at weddings. But it's like, you want that for your kids. No man out there in the world wishes you would do better than him.
Yeah.
Other than your dad.
Yep. 100%.
That's
everybody else is going to try and stomp on you and get over top of you.
Talk trash, yes. Convince you to not do that.
Yeah.
I want to push my kids to be more successful than me, to work hard, play hard, to see, like, I remember going to Disney. We'd go to Disney all the time. I haven't been to Disney since COVID now. A lot of other reasons why I don't go to Disney, but
same. I had the opportunity to go for a free trip to Disney a month ago. My daughter's never been there a month ago, and I denied it because I'm not participating in it.
Yeah, I just can't do it right now.
Nope.
We go to Universal, we'll have fun there, but
Harry Potter World. Let's go.
Let's go. We love Harry Potter World, but we haven't been to Disney since COVID, and we would go all the time. We had season passes, so we'd go all the time, and I remember sitting there. I go, when you guys grow up, do you guys want to work with me so you guys can have the same lifestyle and the same, own a business to where you can take time off and travel with your family and, come on our family trips? And they were all like, yeah, we want this for us. We travel so much. It's like we're always going when everyone else is in school. So I want them to see not everybody has this ability.
Yeah.
Owning a business is not the easiest thing. People work 9 to 5 and they go home. I sometimes envy those people because they can turn their phone off, turn their brain off. They literally shut everything down. Second they walk out the door, they clock out and they get in the car. They could throw their phone in the back seat, in the glove box, lock it up, whatever. They don't have to think.
Yeah. When I get to the point where I'm like at my breaking point where I'm like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. That's like, I always think about that. That's the thing I always think about. I'm like, God damn it, to shut this off.
Sometimes I wish I had a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
No, but at the same time I don't, because those people get 2-week vacation.
Yeah.
It's like,
I pick my daughter up every day from school.
Yeah.
Every day. And she's told me like, I wish mom, cause her mom works a 9 to 5, but not those 9 to 5 hours. And she'll tell me like, I wish mom could pick me up from school, and it breaks my heart, and it breaks her mom's heart. I understand. And her mom's working on creating some things to where she can do that. I'm super proud of her. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And, but I tell her all the time, I'm like, baby girl, dad can pick you up because dad owns his own business. and I get to determine what I do,
Yeah.
right? Because I want her to understand. What do you want to do? You want to pick your kids up someday? You want to, whatever these things you want to do are because this is what we created. This is what Dad created. And, I always end up doing a little bit of work after she goes to bed, and she's like, Dad, you always work, whatever, and I've stopped working, during my time with her and separating it. But I think it's invaluable for her to see that, like, you go to bed and Dad's still doing this, because she now needs a new beau because she's outgrown the other two. And, like, I don't know, why wouldn't she outgrow them in a month? Because that's just how it works. And that's like, all right, $300 later, we could have just skipped that because she just waited a month. But now she's in the phase where she's like, it's time for like a real compound bow that's going to last her till she's 15 or 16. So, that and all the fixings, we're looking at $600, and she's like, well, why do you got to work at night? I'm like, well, baby, you know how you need the bow. Dad gets to put in the work. And I always say get to, not have to or need to. We don't say that in my house. Yeah. You don't need to or have to. You get to do things. And I get to put in the work so that we have the money to be able to then go get the things that we want and shoot together, and I think framing that and showing them, again, like when you were at your lowest, like when I went through my divorce, I haven't talked about it on here yet, but, I was where you were at, like I was contemplating it and thinking about all that stuff. And maybe we'll get on and share stories on that. But I didn't hide a lot from her. Like I cried all the time. Like, at one point I was laying on in the kitchen floor crying, making pasta, and she came around the corner, and it was like, fuck, didn't want her to see that. But then I'm like, you know what? She needs to see it because she got to see Dad fall all the fucking way down and then put the bricks back together. And now she knows she can do it,
and that's what she's going to expect from a man that's going to take care of her.
I've said this plenty of the people were probably like, I know, Rocco. One of my very good friends, as soon as she was born, was like, congratulations, you had a daughter. Whoever she dates for the rest of her life, she's going to compare to you. You set the standard. Yeah. I was like, God damn it. That's so much pressure. But it really is. I mean,
I put that pressure on all my kids too.
Good.
Yeah. I want them to be the man that Charlotte's going to analyze. Is this guy a good standard? For me, that's going to take care of me just like my brothers or my dad did.
Yeah. I mean, she's got so many people to bounce it off of now. And,
that's if she ever dates. They got to get through all the boys.
They got to get through everybody.
If they can get through them, then I guess, they deserve her.
One. This is a good one. So we watch a lot of the Steelers because that's my team. I don't really watch a ton of sports, but the Steelers, I grew up going to games since I was 6. It's my thing. And we got a new quarterback this year, Kenny Pickett, and she was watching the game, and she's learning about it now, right? She doesn't know too much because it's all we only watch like one game a week, whatever. And she was like, "Who's that?" And I was like, "It's our new quarterback, Kenny Pickett." She's like, "I like him," and I'm like, "Good," because he's a high character guy. He's married. Like, he checks all the boxes of somebody like from a distance, that I would want to date my daughter. I'm like, yeah, you're picking winners already. I fucking like it. I like it. And, but one of the things I realized the other day, and I don't remember if I read this or heard this, but I was like, okay, if I look in the mirror and I'm not good enough to date my daughter, like if I look and I'm like, this aspect or that aspect, if she brought that home, I wouldn't be okay with her bringing that home. I'm like, well, now it's time to find that shit and eradicate it, and it's the same with boys, like if he's not going to, if there's an aspect of you that you don't want him to grow up to be in a man, because he's just going to mimic you.
Yeah, I know.
And then you get to eradicate it. Mm-hmm. It's fascinating.
So one of the things I teach my kids is like not to talk about yourself. If you want to be a leader, you actually ask questions. And so we're sitting at a table with random strangers, and to be the leader, you ask all the questions. And you end up, everyone comes to you for everything from that point forward. So I always teach my kids to not be a follower, to be a leader. So when you're sitting at a table, instead of talking about yourself, I do this, mm-hmm. Ask questions. How long have you guys been married? How'd you guys meet? You just go around a list of questions to people. And all of a sudden, you've this whole community of a group of people that have no idea who anybody is, now all become best friends. And it's like you facilitated this amazing, moment. Yeah. So I show this to my kids, and now they go out. Caleb he's a king at this stuff. He'll literally be at an event, and he'll just start going to town, asking everybody questions. And next thing you know, everyone thinks he's like the leader of the group. So people will come up to him. Matter of fact, that's how we met his wife. He was at a Prager U event. He's part of Prager Force. And so
awesome. That's awesome.
He used to write for him. So did his wife. Back then was not his wife, but they both were a part of that group. So he was there. Everyone thinks he's the leader. He's there chit-chat with everybody. She walks in and he's like, sorry, fellas. And he just beeline right for her. And that's how they met. Yeah. But he takes that same aspect now. So whenever he's in a group, he leads by asking questions instead of versus talking about himself, just engage other people and you become that leader. So for me, it's always that important to,
I love that so much.
To lead that way.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, cool. So we're up against it today. We're going to do another one of these.
All right, cool.
So before we close out, tell everybody where they can find you if they want wedding photography or if they want anything else or how they get a hold of you for business. And all
for
that
sure.
Kind of
so we do family photos, weddings, babies, kids, models, pregnancy. We do everything. I've shot Super Bowls, Daytona 500s, the Masters. My true love is capturing that real lifestyle stuff. I love that. The name of the company is Michelle Lawson Photography. So Instagram, Michelle Lawson Photography. Our website's michellelawson.com. My personal Instagram is Steve Lawson, just one word, Steve Lawson. I got in when it was still not a lot of people, so I'm happy about that. And then our bus page is Wild and Free Lawsons. So it's pretty much all easy to find. If you just go to my Instagram, it's all there. All the things are on my bio. But Michelle Lawson Photography, man, we love to capture people and tell their stories. And I treat everyone, like I said, I treat everyone the exact same. That's how it is at all my weddings. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews and, throughout all the different platforms. And you'll read all the things. Man, we felt like he was family. All the guests thought he was just one of our friends. And we've just met him. It's like, that's how I treat people. I want my kids to be the same way. So, yeah, you can find us anywhere there. We love to be there, have some fun. We're not your typical photographers. We definitely are out of the box with everything we do.
I love it. We'll tag everything at the bottom of the show notes, too.
Cool.
Perfect, man. Thank you so much.
I had a blast.
Awesome.
It was fun.
Yeah, this was good. We'll do another one.
Sweet.
All right.